In my first life, I believed family meant love. When my father remarried the Duchess of Valeria, I thought my world had expanded, that I'd gained not just a mother, but a sister. Evelyn was her daughter, radiant, poised, and gentle in a way that disarmed everyone. We were the same age, two young ladies stepping into high society together. At first, I adored her. We shared carriages, gowns, and whispered secrets in candlelight. She said I was the only one who treated her as family, and I believed her, but her sweetness was only a mask. I didn't see it when she began to mimic me. The way I spoke, the colors I wore, the songs I played on the piano. I thought it was admiration. I didn't realize she was becoming me, piece by piece. Until she took him. Lucian. My betrothed. The Duke's heir. The man I'd grown up beside. The one who promised me forever under the garden's lantern light. He had smiled at me with such warmth, until Evelyn turned that same smile toward him. She cried to him about her loneliness, her fear of not belonging. She played the fragile dove, while I, too proud to beg for his attention, became the villain in their story. And when the engagement was broken, the court whispered that I'd been cruel, that I'd bullied poor Evelyn into stealing my fiancé out of pity. Pity. My father called me jealous. My stepmother called me ungrateful. Lucian didn't even look at me when he passed by with her on his arm. The day they married, the bells tolled like a death knell. I stood outside the cathedral, dressed in mourning black, watching the man who'd once sworn to love me kiss her hand. And when she turned, meeting my eyes across the crowd, she smiled, sweetly, triumphantly. That was the moment I understood. Evelyn had never wanted Lucian. She wanted my life, my place, my power. And she'd taken it all. When the scandal that ended me came, false letters, fabricated debts, whispered accusations, I had no one left to defend me. I fell alone, exiled from the house that bore my name. I died in the cold, still wondering why love had turned into a blade. But death was not my end. When I opened my eyes again, I was 16. The morning my father first told me he'd marry the Duchess of Valeria, my heart stopped. The sunlight was the same. The garden outside was blooming with spring roses. I was back before she arrived, before the betrayal, before I lost everything. This time, I would not be the naive girl who welcomed her with open arms. When Evelyn and her mother arrived at our estate, I greeted them with perfect courtesy, a curtsy so graceful even my father beamed with pride. Evelyn smiled shyly, her golden hair gleaming like spun light. "It's an honor to meet you, sister," she said softly. "Likewise," I replied. "I've heard so much about you." My voice was warm, my eyes were ice. She never noticed the difference. From that day on, I played my role carefully, the picture of grace, generosity, and wit. The nobles adored me. Even my father's new wife couldn't find fault in me. When Evelyn tried to mimic my mannerisms, society praised her for trying to be like me. When she flirted with Lucien, I made sure he saw her clumsy attempts, not as charm, but desperation. And when she cried about feeling out of place, I comforted her publicly, making her appear dependent, childish. Every move she made, I turned into my advantage. Every scheme she whispered to her mother fell apart before it could bloom. This time, I wasn't her victim. I was her lesson. Still, there was one thing I hadn't expected. Lucian's change. He watched me differently now. Perhaps it was the quiet confidence in my tone, or the way I carried myself without longing for his affection. Whatever it was, he began to seek me out again. He laughed at my wit. He walked with me after banquets. Once, he even confessed softly, "You seem different, Leora. Stronger." I smiled. Maybe you're just seeing me clearly for the first time." And yet, even as he reached for me, I felt nothing but the echo of who he'd been and what he'd done. The warmth I once carried for him had cooled into something distant, sharp, and clean. Evelyn noticed. I saw the envy flicker in her eyes, the same hunger that had destroyed me before. She tried to provoke me, whisper lies in the corners of the ballroom, plant rumors about my ambition. But I had already woven my own web. Every person she thought she could manipulate was already under my watch. Every accident she caused became proof of her deceit. Slowly, quietly, her mask began to crack. Until one night at a royal banquet, she made her final move. She spilled wine on her gown and stumbled, right into Lucian S. arms, before turning tearful eyes toward me. "Ah, sister," she said sweetly, loud enough for all to hear. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to embarrass you again." Again, as if I'd scolded her before, as if I was cruel. I smiled. Embarrass me? My dear Evelyn, I could never be embarrassed by family. Though, I glanced down at her gown. Perhaps next time, you should avoid wearing white when you're so prone to accidents. The laughter that followed was merciless. Her tears came fast then, real ones this time. The Duchess rushed to her side, but the nobles had already turned away. The whispers were spreading. Desperate. Jealous. Not at all the lady she pretends to be. I had given her exactly what she gave me, humiliation wrapped in sympathy. And when Lucian turned to me, torn between guilt and admiration, I simply said, "Don't pity her, Lucian. She'll recover. She always does." That night, as I stood on the balcony watching the fireworks bloom across the sky, I felt her gaze burning into my back. "You wanted my life," I whispered to the stars. "Now watch me live it better than you ever could." By the end of the season, I was engaged again. Not to Lucien, but to someone far greater. Prince Adrian, the man I had never dared to dream of in my first life. He saw me not as fragile or pure, but as brilliant, capable, dangerous. And when he asked for my hand, I didn't hesitate. Evelyn's envy curdled into hatred. She and her mother tried one last desperate ploy, a forged letter meant to implicate me in treason. But I had been waiting for that. The proof of their deceit was already sealed, ready to expose them before the entire court. When the truth came out, the Duchess fainted from shame. Evelyn was stripped of her title and sent away from the capital. The same people who once cheered for her turned their faces in disgust. And me? I stood beside the prince as he declared our betrothal before the court. Evelyn's final words to me echoed through the hall. A broken whisper. "You took everything." I met her gaze calmly. "No, I simply reclaimed what was mine." As she was led away, I felt no pity, no triumph, only peace. In this life, I wasn't the naive girl who believed in kindness above truth. I was the woman who understood that power protects the heart, and that love, when real, never demands you shrink for someone else's comfort. When Adrian kissed my hand beneath the glow of the chandeliers, I looked into his eyes and finally smiled. This time I had everything she wanted, not because I took it from her, but because I earned it back, and I would never let it go again.